Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host. If this is your first Geekscape, strap yourselves in for some pop culture talk, movies, video games, comic books, TV, all the pop culture goodness. It's fit to put in your noggin for about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm sitting here with my friend Jeremy Miller, he was going to be on the show last week, and he's like,
some technical issues.
So Jeremy was like, would it be easier if I just come over to your place so we can do the podcast?
Exactly.
To which I said, yeah, of course, dude. Come over. You can see the baby. Hang out with
Any
Heidi.
excuse to see the little
Come
one.
over. So as you guys filter in here on YouTube, Facebook, if you're watching live, maybe you're watching on LinkedIn, maybe you're dropping off some stuff, maybe you're on YouTube. As you guys come in, we're going to do a Geekscape. We're going to talk to Jeremy Miller. We're going to talk about Growing Pains. We'll talk about his upcoming con schedule, where you can see him this summer. I know I've invited him to the Geekscape booth in San Diego, which we're going to go all out on this summer. And we're just going to talk a little bit of 80s TV, a little bit of nostalgia, and also just going to catch up with you.
Absolutely.
Is that all right, dude?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right?
Let's do it.
You want to Geekscape with us
Let's
here?
Geekscape.
And this is the first installment. I got to put it up here. I made a banner for it. Look. The Jonathan Lennon and Jeremy Miller show.
I love it.
This is the first installment of the Jonathan Lennon and Jeremy Miller show for all you Geekscapists and Growing Pains fans, and really Jonathan and Jeremy fans. All right, it's
silly. Pretty good deal.
We're pretty yeah. It's like, I mean, we should do like a buddy cop movie.
Oh, that works. Ooh, who's playing the mean sergeant though?
Okay, we're gonna give it a thought, and we'll come back on that one. All right, Geekscapists, we're here with Mr. Jeremy Miller of Growing Pains fame, and also, like, dude, Peanuts.
Yes, sir.
You're the voice of Linus.
Yeah,
in the Peanuts movies.
From 84 to 87, I got to do the voice of Linus. So Happy New Year, Charlie Brown. This is America, Charlie Brown, and the Snoopy musical TV special.
Do people come up to you at cons and ask you to do Linus?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And given that I'm not a classical voice actor where I have tons of different voices, it was just my voice as a kid. So it's kind of hard to recreate considering my voice has changed.
Did you outgrow Linus?
Yes.
You were like your registered
actually
drop?
In the middle of us filming This is America, Charlie Brown, which was a multi-episode special. I think I filmed 2 of them. It was 1 or 2, and my voice changed, and they had to let me go.
And they finished it with another actor?
Mm-hmm. They did the last 3 or 4 episodes with the actor that replaced me and took over as Linus.
How old are you?
11.
What do you do?
Well, that's the norm. I mean, with Peanuts in particular, was something you knew. Everybody who does the voice for Peanuts ages out. Peanuts does not like to use adults who do kid voices as their characters.
Like the Simpsons or something.
They use real kids who are of around that age range. So you age out. It's something that happens to everybody. I apparently had one of the longer runs. 3 years is apparently a very good run. Most kids only get 1.5 to 2 years doing the voice. So
that's so sad, though.
It's just part of the business.
You know what drives me, you know what impresses me with you? And I won't talk about my time getting kicked out of Menudo. You didn't know I was in Menudo with Ricky Martin and singing and dancing. It's a Costa Rica, it's Puerto Rican, the Puerto Rican boy band.
We haven't talked about this.
I was not in Menudo, but what impresses me when I talk to you is how professional you were from like an early age, in that you accept stuff like, okay, I'm 11. my voice doesn't work for Linus from Peanuts anymore. They have a rule that kids are doing kids' voices, not adults doing kids' voices. I'm just going to accept this.
A lot of that was due to my mom. She was very good at explaining that stuff and made sure I understood kind of the ins and outs of the business along those lines. To give you an example, auditions. I mean, as a kid, hearing no over and over and over. I mean, I went on over 400 auditions at one point without getting a single job.
Before Growing Pains?
Before Growing Pains. And that was because I started acting when I was about 5 years old.
Okay.
My first 10 auditions, I booked a McDonald's commercial.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about how badass the cast. Okay, who's in this McDonald's
So
commercial?
that McDonald's commercial was me, Jaleel White, Urkel from Family Matters, R.J. Williams, who had 3 or 4 different pilots and series during the 80s and 90s, Brandon Call, who was on, it might have been Step by Step. It was another 90s show. Basically, every kid they had in here, it was a 5-kid crew. Every kid went on to have major shows, major roles, multiple pilots, and worked consistently. So whoever was the casting director for that
he had an eye for it.
He had an eye. He knew what he was doing. But so I got that one. We did it. And then from that point until I started booking practically everything was about 2.5 years.
Like, honestly, like you couldn't miss.
Well,
was it these little dimples?
For that period where I wasn't getting hired, I was getting to the final 4 every time. I mean, almost every audition, it was down to me and 2 or 3
like
other
who
kids.
are the people you're losing to? Because you start seeing these people
well,
over
you
and
saw
over
them all
again,
the time.
and then they come as guest stars on your show.
Jonathan Brandis, Andrew, Stephen Dorff.
Mm-hmm.
Were 2 guys I lost out a lot to.
Really?
Steven was the one guy I never wanted to see ever in an audition.
Dude, you could have been in the gate.
Oh, I could have done.
Kid has the eyeball
He
on
beat
his
me out for it.
Really? You were going to be in the gate?
You
guys know that horror movie, The Gate, where like Stephen Dorff has a gate to hell in his backyard?
He beat me out for that role. Steven beat me out for almost everything. He was such a fabulous actor.
You could have been the bad guy in Blade.
Every actor has that guy, though. They
was
really
Stephen
do.
Dorff?
Mine was Stephen Dorff. Him and I would joke because if I saw him, I'd just walk in, I'd look at him, I go, "Do I even need to be here?
Yeah.
You know, should I hand it to you
That's
now?"
crazy that it's Stephen Dorff.
So he was kind of my guy that I hated to see because I knew he was going to get it.
He's a good actor.
Oh, he's a great actor.
I think he's awesome.
I love Stephen.
You know, people skip over it, but I think that him and Marshall Ali, their season of True Detective,
it was brilliant.
It was great. Super, because I think people cooled on season 2, which I liked, but obviously season 1's brilliant. Season 2, I liked it. It goes in directions, right?
Absolutely.
But season 3 they locked in, and I thought it was great, but people overlooked it. And then I got to tell you, like this last season with Jodie Foster.
Oh, I haven't caught it yet.
Okay, so that was awesome, and a former Geekscape guest wrote and directed all the episodes.
Really? That's awesome.
And she's incredible. She's one of the people who, like, when the interview messed up technically, she hit me up and was like, "Jonathan, we're doing the episode again," and she did everything over again.
Oh, that's
cool. She was
you
just awesome. Like you, dude. Like last week, he was like, "I can't get my computer to work. I don't know what's happening." Da 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 da. And I was like, "Dude, it's all good. It's all good." Like
I just try, I don't
and
like
today. He's like, "I don't like the technical stuff. I'm just gonna come over and do it." And I was like, "You just want to see the baby."
That too.
You just want to see my baby.
She's adorable.
You just want to see the baby. Guys, we have the comments open as well. And Star on Twitch, Jonathan, it's been forever. Well, thank you, Star. Thank you. It's not going to be forever for any of us because we got cons like coming up, and you start your conventions this weekend.
Yes,
you're in Lompoc.
Yes,
dude. You know Lompoc. I first heard of Lompoc because that's where Vin Diesel's character is from in Fast and Furious.
Is that where you first?
He goes, "I'm from Lompoc."
Lompoc is a great area. They got an amazing beach up there called Halama Beach. Little secluded cove. Absolutely gorgeous.
You're not doing any of this nudist stuff, though, are you, Jeremy?
No, not my
Walking
style.
around with like a leaf on.
I don't even wear grape smoke.
I thought you were going. No. I thought you were going somewhere. With
no.
This beautiful beach. Ain't nobody on there. You walk around, let the breeze.
Thing is, you can camp on this beach.
Oh,
So it's actually legal to camp out there. You can rent a camp
Okay.
space. It's gorgeous up there. So anyway, yeah, we're doing the Lompoc Rocketown Comic Con, and man, it's going to be a really good time. It's the 75th anniversary of the Peanuts, so we're having a reunion of.
Can't do the voice.
I can get close.
Can you really? Because you aged out of the voice.
My voice is a little too deep, but I can get kind of close.
Okay.
I am not your sweet babu, and I wouldn't invite you to a chicken race.
Oh, you know what's cool too? You're going to be at Pasadena Comic Con on the 24th,
Yes.
May 24th. Pasadena was supposed to be in January. Obviously, there were fires in Pasadena. Our good friend Dustin Rubin, who does a podcast here on the show, they lost their house in the Eaton fire. We had a big fundraiser for them. They rescheduled to May 24th. You got added to the bill, and so did the voice of Charlie Brown.
Yes.
So I emailed the guy, Scott, who runs Pasadena Comic Con. I was like, dude, let's do a live reading with the Peanuts cast. Let's do it. Blocked. He didn't respond.
I would have loved it.
I'll try him. I will honestly try him and be like, dude, if you have Linus, Charlie Brown, let's get a couple more actors. Just grab a couple of the Power Rangers. And let's do like a Peanuts live reading.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
No, dude, it can still happen. Like, I'll
Brad
bug them.
Brad Keston is the voice of Linus the voice of Charlie Brown that I'll be doing the Pasadena Comic Con with. I also have gotten to work with Duncan, who's one of the older Charlie Browns. And it's really cool getting to meet all the different generations.
He was Charlie Brown like in the late 70s?
In the early to mid 70s.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he did a lot of the smaller ones. He did 2 big specials, but he did a lot of the smaller ones, like It's Arbor Day Charlie Brown. No one's ever even heard of that one. He did a bunch of really smaller ones, but
that was really a thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. You can actually look it up. It's Arbor Day Charlie Brown. But it's very cool being a part of a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's no competition. There's no, our squad was the best. Our voices, we all get a kick out of getting to meet each other. And we're all really proud being a part of the Peanuts legacy.
Especially because the creator was such a stand-up person. Like, you'd hear about
Charles Schultz was amazing.
Did you ever meet him?
I never got to meet.
Did he pass away before you were? Like,
no, he was, I believe, still alive at the time that I was doing the show. But he did pass before the big reunion. I think it was the 40th reunion, something like that. They shut down or rented out Snoopy's Adventureland at Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, crazy.
Knott's Berry Farm, for those of you who are not in California, is an amusement park out here that has a contract licensing deal with Peanuts, and they actually have a kids part of their park that is dedicated to Peanuts and Snoopy. So they shut it down and had all of the voice actors from all of the different specials come and get to have a day at the park and get to meet each other.
When was that?
So I want to say that was 35, or it was right 35th or 40th. So it would have been mid 90s. Okay. Mid to late 90s.
And you, the story I love about Charles Schultz was when he was going to publication, in the newspapers with the Peanuts, and he added the black character.
Yes, one of my favorite stories of all time.
Yeah, tell that story, because that's one where I'm like, this dude is awesome.
He's one of the most stand-up guys around. So at the time, this is during the days of segregation, there's a very big uproar about colored kids swimming in public pools with white kids.
Yeah.
And there's court cases and all these things. And basically, I think one of the court cases came out and ruled that the segregation stayed. These kids could not swim in the pools with white kids. The very next morning, Charles Schultz wrote a comic strip to be on all the papers where the kids were swimming with Franklin, the new black character in the Peanuts. I mean, he did it the very next morning and had them all swimming together. That just tells
you.
Like
Mr. Rogers and the Mailman.
Yeah.
Remember, like, they had that episode where they washed their feet together?
And it's just amazing. It's groundbreaking, and it's absolutely pioneering for the era.
But I'd heard that story where some of the newspapers were like, hey, we want to keep running Peanuts, but like, you gotta remove it. And he's like, then you're not running Peanuts.
Yep.
I'm not removing this character.
He
from this
outright refused. He said, if you have a problem running it, then you won't run it, but I'm not changing it.
I have some people
he fought for Franklin's character
who have said, Jonathan, we don't want to listen to Geekscape anymore if you keep having Christian Blatt as part of the network. And he's in the comments. He says, so glad to have you here on the network. Christian does like 18 shows here. He's like, he did like an hour and a half of Andor talk last night. He does Marvel movie talk. He does the Blattcast. He does a million shows on the network. He's a part of all of our crossovers from all our different shows that we have. He says, so glad to see you on the network, Jeremy. I was the same age as Ben Seaver for the entire run of the series, so I really identify with that show. I had no time for Family Ties. Growing Pains was my favorite show on TV. And then he says, until The Simpsons bumped you to number 2, but I assume you understand.
Completely understood. I was watching Simpsons religiously when it came out. In fact, that was one of the first water cooler shows for our show. Like one of the first shows that as a group, our producers, our writers, our cast, we came in and talked about the new episode each week.
I remember it was an event because not so much like Tracy Ullman, but like growing up in Austin, we always had like the Austin Weekly. Like everybody had weekly papers in bigger cities. And Life in Hell was like a must. When my dad would pick us up, the 3 kids, he'd have weekends. It'd pick us up and we would go to the grocery store to get food for the weekend. He had the kids. And we'd each get to pick out a comic, and we would get the Daily Chronicle, the Austin Chronicle, or the Weekly Chronicle. And there was a Matt Groening Life in Hell comic in every single one. And the 2 things that we would share and read were Life in Hell and the News of the Weird. So there was a weird news thing, and we would read it out loud. But one day my dad picks us up and said, the guy who does Life in Hell has a cartoon coming out on Fox. And we were like, what? And it was The Simpsons. And that was an event TV. It was, remember, like, freaking Michael Jackson would have his videos premiere.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it was
Macaulay
that
Culkin.
big. It was that big.
The Simpsons was the big event. Talk to me about Growing Pains, because I'm about to tell all of you something right now. I never watched it. I'm here with Jeremy Miller, Ben Seaver himself, the Dimples. I was watching the Ninja Turtles, the Transformers, the G.I. Joes. When I saw live action on TV, I was a cartoon guy. And suddenly, like, Heidi, let me tell you, she's in the other room. She gets nervous. She's like, Ben Seaver is going to come over to my house. And now Ben Seaver's holding my kid. And now Ben Seaver's my friend. And earlier she goes, because we set all this up through your wife Joni,
yeah.
And then like the other day you were like, I don't think I could do it. I have technical problems, and you called me from your phone. And Heidi goes, so I guess you have Jeremy Miller's phone number. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, wow, the secret phone number. I was like, yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Jeremy. I've never seen a Growing Pains
It's
episode.
all good, man.
Like,
it's all good.
My brother, please don't get up and leave. Don't tell Kirk Cameron.
Oh,
Mr. Thick, if you can hear us, please.
He'd forgive you, believe me.
All right, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Alan Thick. Like Leo, you're fine. But like, I never seen an episode of Growing Pains, and I'm here, and I'm just, like, tell me, like, some of these kids are younger. Like, what was Growing Pains? What was the whole crux of the show?
Growing Pains was just a family sitcom, and our twist on it was similar to The Cosby Show in that we were the first 2 shows where the mother was the working parent.
Okay.
Was the one who left the house, and the fathers had jobs at home where they had to take care of the house.
It's a very 80s thing to be like, oh, this is, you remember Mr. Mom with Michael
exactly.
Keaton and all that stuff?
This was new.
We were just talking about 3 men and a baby.
Yep. Same exact thing. I mean, nowadays nobody thinks twice about, dad being the one who stays home and mom going out and work. It doesn't even.
I judge.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't cross most people's minds. But now, back then, that was actually a big deal. So it was really just a family sitcom, family life, kids getting in trouble, messing around. But like all 80s sitcoms, we always came back together. It was always about the love of the family, the support of the family. And like all the 80s, you got a nice little lesson. Everything wrapped up in 30 minutes, and you learned a little something. And,
When your character, what was the deal with Ben Seaver? Like, why was he like unique? You know what I mean? Like, because everybody's got to be like a little different, right?
Ben was truly just an every kid.
Okay.
I mean, in that I was 8 to 15 doing the show.
That's how old you were.
Yes.
8 years old to 15.
And that was lined up perfectly with my character as well.
And Stephen Dorff didn't audition for that, I guess.
I don't know. Thank God he didn't. Thank God he didn't look enough like Alan or whatever it was at the time.
He had that eyeball in his arm from the gate.
There we go.
The gate was freaky, man.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Is it awesome?
I really wish
The
I could
gate's
have done
great.
it. Anyway, it was Ben was when they were fleshing out like his younger, kind of creating what his character was about. He was just kind of the goofy kid who always was getting in trouble. Nothing ever, horrific. One of the best early episodes they gave us to do was actually, it was my first time getting a storyline that was about Ben, where he was kind of the focus. And they had my character get in trouble for having called a 976 number.
What is that?
Okay, so you're too young to know.
Yeah, I mean, we know 911.
In early 80s,
okay,
you had these sex lines, phone lines, and they were 800 976 whatever it was. And it was some pretty filthy it was basically straight up porn on the phone.
Yeah. Ooh, somebody talking to you dirty.
And these were a big thing in the 80s. In fact, my high school girlfriend, her aunt owned the largest phone sex line in all of Los Angeles. She was a multimillionaire from it.
That's your high school girlfriend?
My high school girlfriend was, her
she
aunt
made her money.
Well, her aunt, made her money on all the sex lines. She owned like 17 of them, biggest one in LA, and made tons off of it. So this was very big in the 80s. And the episode starts with Jason doing the bills and losing his mind because our phone bill is like $300 and something. And this back in the 80s, that was a lot for a phone bill to be.
Well, still, yeah, I mean, that's
so anyway, Ben gets in trouble for having called this line, and he lies about it and sells out his best friend. So there's a scene where you actually hear his best friend getting beaten by his dad.
No, like freaking physically beaten.
Like hearing the smack, dad style moms, I didn't.
That's horrifying. And Ben's listening to this.
I'm hearing it in my driveway, and I'm responsible for it.
That's terrible.
So it was a kind of a deep episode for a kid, and it was a lot of fun to do. But this will show you kind of how inappropriate things were back then. Our producers thought nothing of asking my mom, well, we want it to be realistic. We want him to know what he's dealing with. So I'm 9 years old. They wanted me to actually hear real footage from one of these. My Mormon mother, absolutely refused, which, knowing what I know now about these things, smart move on her part. But the producers actually thought that was appropriate. That's to ask crazy. A 9-year-old to listen to a incredibly explicit, phone call.
You got to describe it. You can't just hear the sounds of moaning. You got to describe what's happening.
Exactly. So, again, very different time. They would not ask a child actor to do that. They know they'd end up being sued. They'd have problems. HR would be involved.
It just seems like a minefield. Like in the 80s, and obviously you hear about like just before you, Danny Bonaducci, and like you hear. We both know Corey. We know Sean Astin, who survived it.
Mm-hmm.
We know a lot of the people who we met through Keith Coogan.
Yep.
Dishes are done, dude. Is it dishes are done, man?
Dishes are done, man.
Yeah. And that's how we met, because he was in a play with Heidi. And then how did you navigate any of this? Because when you think of like 80s TV actors,
mm-hmm.
You're just like, like if it wasn't an adult they trusted,
mm-hmm.
or like you just said, like people taking all sorts of liberties with what's appropriate for a kid. Like, why are you normal?
I'm not sure I would classify myself as normal.
Dude, you were one of the most normal, sweet people I know.
Thank you,
and I know you've had demons. Like, we talked here in this very living room about the alcoholism
mm-hmm.
and the recovery, which is, as a straight edge guy who's never been a part. I mean, obviously alcohol affected my life, and my brother being killed by a drunk driver, but like that was when I was like, oh, guess this isn't something I'm going to do when I get to college or anything like that. Like, I don't know the chemical
mm-hmm.
dependency. I don't know the illness. I don't know any of that stuff. And you had to navigate all that stuff. And your peers did too.
Oh, very much so. I mean,
they're alive.
Honestly, I give all the credit to my family. I really do. My mom and my grandmother were the two biggest influences and were the ones who were most involved with my career and kind of keeping me on the right path. And it's not that I didn't see all those same things. I went to the same parties and saw the piles of Coke on the table. And
How old are you? How old are you when you're seeing the
11, 12,
Those aren't pixie sticks, man.
No. But see, my mom.
How are you even getting to those parties?
Well, my mom would bring me. I mean, you never went to any of these things alone, or at least my mother and my grandmother never allowed me to go to these things alone.
These are like networking. They're like
basically paparazzi type things, networking and whatever. Mostly it was just appearances to be seen and get your pictures taken, and you were there. So what my mom would do in those situations was we'd come in, she'd beeline me right to where the photographs were going to be, right where all the photographers were. And we'd take our photos, say hi to anybody I had to say hi to, and we'd be out the door in 25 minutes.
Sure, because like 2 rooms over, there's a pile of the cocaine.
Exactly. So, and God knows what was going on in some of the other rooms. I mean, I've heard the stories many times, and I was kept away from that stuff.
Right.
So,
but a lot of your peers weren't.
No, they weren't.
Like
most of my friends suffered a lot of abuse. Ended up experimenting a lot at a very young age with a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol.
And you dated Drew Barrymore.
Yes, I actually.
She went through like a crazy demonic stage, and then she did that movie Poison Ivy, and then we started seeing her. Scream. And she started, like, how the heck
Drew had a hard. Well, I mean, Drew's struggle was even more ridiculous in that it was even earlier. More things were considered acceptable, and her fame was so high that at 9 years old, people were letting her into clubs in New York and drinking. 9.
Yeah.
9. Okay, no one would have let me in a club at 9 years old. They were letting her in clubs at 9. So. Her and I met at Kirk's premiere for like Father Like Son.
Oh yeah, the movie Dudley Moore. That movie's awesome.
And I don't know, I saw Drew out there dancing, and everybody was kind of like intimidated to talk to her. And I just went up and we started talking. I asked her to dance, and we ended up. I mean, we were young. I was 12, she was 13, and we were going together. We didn't date. We talked on the phone all the time. When we saw each other at events, we hung out and spent time.
You never kissed?
Once.
Okay. How nervous were you?
Not a bit.
Really?
I had my first kiss long before
When did you have your first kiss?
Oh, 6, 7.
This is suddenly Tiger Beat magazine. Welcome to Tiger Beat on the Geekscape network.
I was not one of the boys who ever had the ew girls thing. When my friends
me neither on the Geekscape network.
When my friends were playing with, G.I. Joe and that stuff, I was playing Barbies with the girls because I was with the girls.
I think we talked about how I was watching G.I. Joe instead of Growing Pains. I was playing with still playing with the action figures. We run Geekscape. Like, yes, it took me. I don't think I had a first serious girlfriend until senior year high school, junior year high school.
I was girl crazy forever. Young.
Oh no, I was girl crazy. They didn't get the memo for a very long time, Jared.
I had a little help. I mean, being on the show definitely. Increase the profile.
Well, they weren't going to put somebody like me on the show. They're going to put with these dimples on their show. So they're going to put on their show. They're going to put me on their show.
But so I did get to date. I mean, not date. We were, young, calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend. And it's
that firms it up. That firms it up.
I've never gotten to speak to Drew about this. We've seen each other a few times just in passing at different events over the years. I believe I was kind of her safe friend because
you're not
when this was going on, it was right at the end of her addiction and her spiraling. So we would talk regularly. I mean, almost every night for weeks at a time, and then she would disappear for 2 weeks.
Oh no!
And I wouldn't hear a word and things like that. So I know she was still struggling at that time. But I was kind of, I didn't party, I didn't drink, I did nothing. I'm only 12. And I think I was kind of her safe space, someone she could talk to.
You also were you told me before the show, this is crazy. You went to the 1989 Batman Tim Burton premiere and who did you meet there and start dating? Because this is nuts. You just dropped this like it was nothing. We were talking Batman, which is what you do in my house. You talk comic books. And I was like, oh, yeah, the Tim Burton 1989 movie. And you said, what?
So the premiere of Batman in '89 was actually how I got Danica to go out with me. Danica McKellar from Wonder Years.
Winnie freaking Cooper. You went out with Winnie Cooper?
Yes. Like anybody, I was smitten with her when that show came out. And we had done, since it was an ABC show as well, we did a lot of publicity together. So over the year or so of that first season of Wonder Years, we were at many events together, and I began pursuing her. And being
at what age?
Again, this is just after Drew.
What does that entail?
13-ish.
Like pursuing at 13? I don't remember.
Trying to
I'd given up
to her, being friends.
I imagine like Data from the Goonies, like having little gadgets to like get her attention. You know what I mean?
Talking, trying to work a little bit, however much game a 13-year-old can have.
Okay.
And then I asked her out and she turned me down flat. She was not, Danica was 2.5 years older than me. Okay. So she's like, get this little kid away from me.
Sure.
But I was persistent and I asked a few more times. I still got turned down. And then the premiere of Batman's happening. And this is the hottest ticket in all of LA.
We sat in the aisles, man. That was that Friday night we had to watch Batman. Remember when we were watching like on TV, they played all the Adam West ones for months. Prince was all over the place. That Bat Dance was everywhere. Like Bat Fever was real.
Well, here's the thing. This premiere was the largest premiere that had ever been done. They did 2 theaters simultaneously right next to each other. The 2 theaters that are across the street from each other in Westwood, right there.
They're gone. They're going to be gone.
I know
now,
they're getting rid of
like
them. Breaks my heart. That place was so iconic. But anyway, they kind of built Gotham around those 2 theaters, basically like a block or so. They fully decorated like Gotham. They went all out, and there were so many people that wanted to go. They had to hold it in 2 theaters simultaneously. So I worked for Warner Brothers. Growing Pains was a Warner Brothers show. And I said, here's my chance.
Yeah.
Nobody can get
You didn't even care about Batman. You just care about that.
Believe me, I wanted to see it, but priorities.
Wow.
So, because I was dying to see the movie anyway. But I knew this was my chance because no one could get tickets. So I called our PR guy at Warner Brothers and I said, I need tickets. Just get them for me. Whatever you can do, I'll owe you one. And he called me back 2 hours later and said, I got you 2 tickets. So I called Danica and I said,
hey, first phone call.
Called her and said, I have 2 tickets to the Batman premiere. Would you care to go with me?
You fly dog. And that was the move.
That was it. And she
Winnie
agreed
Cooper.
And rented a limo to go pick her up, took her to the premiere, and then we had a great time at the premiere. And then we went and had, there was an ice cream shop near her house. We stopped there and ate and talked for like an hour and a half afterwards and started dating. So
that's so heartwarming. I think my first date in middle school, first date period, my parents drove, I was in 7th grade. She was in 8th grade, and we went to see Wayne's World.
Oh, really?
Which like shows you.
That's a great first date.
I was so addicted to cartoons, all this stuff. I didn't get any of the Queen references, which like everyone in the theater's laughing. So I started uncomfortably chuckling because I'm like, I don't even think I'd heard the song. Like, come on, man. I was like, I'm still a little culturally immature, and everybody's laughing at the Queen stuff and all that. And I was just like, yeah, it's funny because they're goofy, but I'm so nervous right now. Oh my God, there's a girl next to me. Like, it was freaking out, dude. I didn't have your chill at all, and that was my first date. And I got to tell you, the equivalent of that 347 number, my parents got a call from a guy who ran a BBS. Remember BBSs where you could dial into a bulletin board system, leave something, or download part of like a packet of a game. We could download a freeware game or play what was the name of that? Drug Wars, where you go like you have to buy it low and sell high. You remember Drug Wars?
Oh, that's too funny.
So that's how Drug Wars worked back in the day, kids. Because y'all are all playing real time on your Fortnites and your Roblox. We would have to go call up on our modems. Our computer would then be like access a file share, like a file, like a basically like a file, like bunch of files on this person's computer that he had put in a BBS folder. So you see all these folders with the files, and in one of them is a bulletin board. In the bulletin board, the game was called Drug Wars, and there was a space version of it too. But you wanted to play Drug Wars when you're 11 and 12. You want to play Drug Wars. And you would call in, and you would be like, "Oh, this drug is selling low. I'm going to buy it, and then I'm going to call back in like 30 minutes and see if it's selling high and try and make a profit." The whole point of Drug Wars is trying to make a profit selling drugs in a BBS. And I'm a middle schooler playing this, but then some of these BBSs, these phone numbers, you'd call it with your modem, and you'd be like, "Oh, maybe I can download a freeware game like Commander Keen, the Apogee game." And suddenly you're like, "Oh, this person has a photo, like, oh, this guy has a bunch of a folder with a bunch of photos in it. Oh, it's girls. It's adult pictures."
That was old school dark web.
Totally.
Basically.
And like they would load like this. You're like, "Is a boob coming?"
Oh yeah.
The game
just slowly revealing.
Or like before MP3s, you'd be downloading like MIDI versions of songs that were popular. But I remember my dad and my stepmother calling me in the room and said, "Hey, we just got a phone call from a guy who runs a computer bulletin board system. It's not for kids, but you had gotten the phone number and you'd called it and you'd seen some pictures and we want to talk to you about that." I'm like, "I don't want to talk to you guys about this at all." But guilty is charged. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm not having this conversation. Whatever you guys want to do, guilty of it. Yes. Hello, but I'm not telling you guys that I was looking at adult pictures on a BBS.
Yeah.
It's probably 1990.
Not a conversation.
1989, 91. That was my special episode of Growing Pains.
Yep.
Was I was playing Drug Wars and looking at adult pictures on my bulletin board system. Man, the internet was supposed to bring us together.
It was an interesting time, I'll tell you.
So, talk to me about Growing Pains, because Christian Blatt, he went to have dinner. He came back in the chat and he said, "Did everyone realize the abilities of Leonardo DiCaprio during the show, or was it only apparent afterwards?" As a non-Growing Pains fan, I realized only in research and a little bit of cursory knowledge that Leonardo DiCaprio was part of later seasons of Growing Pains. Because my first thing was they had shot a movie in and around Austin called What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and I wanted to see it because I'm an Austin kid. And I couldn't believe that movie. It was so good. And that performance from Leo is amazing. The whole movie is great.
I'll tell you something about that performance.
I actually went on a date with the girl, the daughter from What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Really?
After my divorce.
Oh, wow.
She's wonderful. She's awesome. We went on a couple dates. And she's really cool.
Cool.
I think she was also in one of the Free Willy movies or something. But she was a really wonderful girl. Still is. Married, I think she's got a baby too. Wonderful.
So let me tell you how good Leo is.
Okay. And you knew this as a kid.
Well, we've all talked about it before.
And when did he join the show? Because I don't know anything.
So Leo came onto the show the very last season.
Okay, how many seasons were there of the Growing
We had
Pains?
7 seasons.
Okay,
and he came on we had a great run, and he came on the final season.
Okay, and were you like, "F this kid"?
I had nothing against him, but I definitely was a little resentful towards ABC for feeling that they needed to bring him on. They didn't feel that I could carry the mantle for Kirk and the show.
Kirk had left?
Not left, but his character. Kirk was dealing with his stuff, his religious stuff, and everything.
But he was
else.
also doing movies.
And he not yet. I mean, he had done a couple.
Yeah,
he was still focused on the show, but he didn't want his character to be Mike anymore. Mike was a fun-loving, not womanizing, but girl hungry.
Yeah,
and he wanted Mike to grow up and be responsible and have a monogamous relationship and just all these different things.
It doesn't make great TV. It makes good people. Make good people. Doesn't make great TV.
But it was a big change for his character. So they felt they needed a younger teen character to carry that teen heartthrob, fun character.
But that's you. That's the mantle. You're the Nightwing, dog.
But
you're suddenly like
ABC did not agree. So they felt they needed to bring in Leo to take that over.
But I thought that would be a natural switch because
I did too.
So you're like, how old at that time?
15.
You're 15. You are literally a teenager. You can step into the teenager, "Hey, girls, roll. I want to get a car. I want to do all these things that 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds start to deal with." And like, dating and should I, shouldn't I on the sex thing, and you start dealing with all those mature things. I felt like that would be like that's where your character should go. And then Leah was a younger character, same
basically
age?
the same age.
Oh, so that spoils it. No, you need like another kind of Ben. That's like, no, why are they double dipping on kids the same age?
It's like I said,
pissed.
ABC didn't.
Oh my God,
they didn't believe in me enough. So I was a little resentful towards ABC, never towards Leo.
They didn't get you no Batman tickets,
and
they get you the Batman tickets.
No, Warner Brothers.
That's what I'm saying. They could have made it all better with Batman Returns tickets.
But Leo, when he first came on, and us as a cast have definitely discussed this, was very, very stiff at first.
Leo was?
His personality was not coming through. He wasn't very believable. And again, I say this every time, I take no credit for his abilities whatsoever. But me and a couple of other people started working with him on his lines and, working with him, at lunch most days. And all we were trying to do, and this is what we told him, was get him to come through.
He's a good kid.
He was a great guy, and he was naturally very charismatic and very fun and silly and had a great sense of humor, and just none of those characteristics were coming through. And when he finally started to loosen up and let his personality actually come through on camera, you saw it. I mean, if you go back and watch his episodes, the first 2, maybe 3 episodes, you're like, I'm not so sure about this guy. By episode 3 or 4, whichever one it was that it clicked, it's just it's a different person. I mean, it really is. It's you can't believe these are the same actors. So we all saw the talent. The ability was, nobody had a clue he was going to go on to be as big as he was.
But like, would he have done that? I mean, obviously, like there was that talk about James Cameron and like his Spider-Man, right? Like that was a real thing that James Cameron was going to do after T2 and all that. And then obviously Titanic just blows it out of the water and all that stuff. That's not a pun, not intentional on that pun. But as you're watching this stuff, and obviously that's the last year of Growing Pains, like when Growing Pains gets canceled, or was it an agreed upon end?
No, we were canceled.
Like what goes through your mind? You're 15 now, and you're 15, right? You're like, what the heck do you do? Because I had that conversation with my brother when WWE and he were going to at a crossroads. And it's why we had the comic Hear the Prophecy, because I watched my brother start to go through like a little bit of a crossroads. And I was worried about his mental health, because it was like, dude, I had this dream since I was a kid to be in WWE. Now that seems to be splitting, and Paul's made a career of post WWE. But at the time, I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, no. Like, what do you do?
It was a hard loss. Just because I loved doing the show.
Yeah.
And it felt like losing your family. But truthfully, I honestly believed most of us would just move on to other things pretty seamlessly.
You thought there was going to be another gig as big as Growing Pains?
I wouldn't say as big as Growing Pains, but I thought it would just
network TV.
I thought it would just move on, to guest starring on this or doing that.
How many Circus of the Stars did you do?
I actually never got to do Circus of the Stars. They brought me into audition one year.
I would have thrown you at a lion.
Unfortunately, I would have loved it.
I would have made you like the Flying Graysons.
I would have loved it.
And then you really would have been Nightwing.
The problem was when they brought me in, they had filled most of the other slots, and all they had was High Wire.
What you gonna do? Your call, kid.
Oh, I would have done it
for real
in a heartbeat.
Oh, there's no effing way I'm doing it.
I would have done the High Wire. I would have done.
Are you kidding me? Circus of the Stars. How old were you when they were offering you Circus of the Stars?
Oh, I want to say 10 or 11.
And they were like, "Sorry, kid. The only thing left is the High Wire." Yes. You would have gone up there as a 10 or 11-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah. They brought me out to the training.
Oh my God! They would have set me up there. I'd been crapping my pants at the Stars. That's what I would have been crapping my pants at the Stars. They'd be like, "Hey man, you're famous because you're that kid who crapped his pants on national TV on Circus of the Stars." And I'd been like, "Yep," but then I flung it at the monkeys. I would have recovered. That's what actors do. You got to pivot and improvise. I've been like, "Oh, I just crapped my pants. Come here, monkeys." That's insane. You should have done the High Wire. There's no way.
I don't have great balance. I apparently have weak ankles.
No, those were my words.
So they brought, well, this is what I've been told because I've snapped my ankles many, many times. I've had doctors tell me I apparently have weak ankles. I couldn't get the balance right. They spent all day with me.
You tried to do the high wire?
Well, they have it about 6 inches off the ground.
Okay.
It's the same wire, same thickness,
like
same
Santa
everything.
Monica when they do put it between the trees. You see those people
kind
in Santa
of,
Monica?
yeah, that's kind of what it is. They have it between blocks that are bolted down, and they have it, and you practice on that. And I just could not get it. They worked with me for most of the day, and I could not get it.
I wouldn't want to get it.
They decided that it was better if I
I'd have been like, nope, guess I'm not dying today. On national television. So you were never on Circus of the Stars. Look, your wife, our wives are watching the show. Hi, Jody. Hi, Heidi. And hi, Ophelia. I hope you're going to sleep. Dude, so one thing I was thinking just now as you're saying that, you start to see people your age start segueing into a different form of show when 90210 comes around. Mm-hmm. So you're coming out of Growing Pains, you're 15. Because I just saw a clip of when Brandon joins the basketball team, mm-hmm. and he plays Steve and is like doing like John Stockton moves. Mm-hmm. Like when you start seeing like, oh, maybe I go to a 90210 or I age into that group of actors with Brian Austin Green and those guys, like, were those your peers? Because Brian Austin Green, I see those pictures of like Tyrone Tan's mm-hmm. Facebook group, mm-hmm. and he's hanging out with Leo and Toby and those guys.
Yeah, those were all guys. My contemporaries,
right?
You know, I didn't.
And Brian Austin Green's in there.
Yeah,
but like when Brian you start seeing those guys doing 90210, like mm-hmm. that seems like a natural move to take you into 90210. And like, what do you do?
Well, all of those. That just seemed like the natural progression, and any of those type of shows would have been a good fit. I actually almost, I mean, it was literally, I got hired for it. I almost moved directly into Days of Our Lives right after Growing Pains.
That's a good gig. That's a consistent gig. Yes. That's like, you are like, you'd still be on that show.
The very last episode, year of Growing Pains, we knew the show was, once we knew the show was ending, I was given an audition for Days of Our Lives. Growing Pain wasn't quite done yet, but we knew it was going to be ending. Mm-hmm. And I actually booked it after the first audition. And the day, 2 days later, I was supposed to be going down to sign the contracts at my agent's. And we get the phone call that the producers, this is how it works on soaps, things change constantly. They decided not to introduce this character. They changed the storyline, and this character was now never even going to be introduced.
So play something else. You're a freaking actor.
That's what happens.
Oh, sorry.
So that's what I got. I got the oops, sorry phone call.
And that's that.
And that was that.
Oh God, that sucks, dude.
So I've had a lot of close ones like that. If I named them all, you'd be amazed. I was this close on a lot of different shows over the years, a lot of different movies.
You told me one, and if I kind of say it, because like we love you, Jonathan Brandis, and like, but Sequest, dude, you could have acted with Roy Scheider.
Yep, that would have been awesome. And Jonathan did beat me out for that. It was down to me, him, and one other actor. I cannot remember the third actor's name. Might have even been Leo. I don't know for sure.
Sequest DSV.
So it was down to the three. It was down to three of us: me, Jonathan Brandis, and one other person. And Jonathan booked it. And even then, I never was mad or upset that I lost.
That's
out
what I
on
gotta ask you about, because like, how do you not just be like you're friends with these guys, but as you start to see like the car's not turning. At that point, the car's not turning, right? And you're like trying to get the career to go, and it was going, and then suddenly the car's not turning, and you're seeing things going into like, dude, how do you not?
It was kind of different for me because my career slowed mainly because of a choice I made.
Talk to me about that one.
So the door was still very much open for me after Growing Pains.
All right.
I did a couple TV movies, did a couple commercials, and again, was still getting very good auditions for big movies, big parts. I went out for Man Without a Face, the Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah.
I had that part in my mind. I know
he's a burn victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the waiting room. I've prepared this role. I mean, tears for the scene. I mean, this is a dramatic, and I have it. As much as I've ever had a role down, I had this down. And as I'm sitting in the room, the casting director comes out and says, "I'm sorry, we won't be needing any of you for this role. They've decided to make the character 12."
I can play 12.
Well, I'm 15.
I
And
know.
so they then say, if you guys want, you can stick around and audition for the three line part of the bully.
But that would have devalued your stock.
Well, I don't have a problem with taking a small part or whatever,
sure.
But I was going to be reading in front of Marion Doherty. Marion Doherty was the head of all film casting for Warner Brothers, and she was notorious for hating television actors.
Yeah, because what keeps you? We've had Joe Dante on the show, but like, what keeps you from being like in the Explorers with Ethan Hawke and Corey, and that stuff, or like Jerry O'Connell, right? Like, what keeps you from like those film actors? And like
at the time, there was not a lot of crossover, and most of the casting directors who cast films did not cast television actors for those films.
I'd have been so pissed.
Nowadays, you see crossover all the time. Actors start on TV, move on. But back then, it was a lot rarer to start on TV and end up
almost non-existent. Like, it wasn't until like the early 2000s. I feel
that
like
it really began.
Suddenly, like Tim Roth is playing a character for HBO, or like
HBO. Keeper coming back for 24 was a big one.
I remember
that was a big one. Someone of his fame coming to television from film was a big deal.
We were when I first moved to LA. Mark Brunswick, my college roommate, took me to that set in like Reseda, and it was somewhere in there, and it was like they were shooting in some warehouse, and Joel Surnow, who ran that show, had the art department build him an entire poker den. And Joel, I think Joel's conservative, like he's a very American dude. He had, I think, not saying he claimed this, but behind his desk, a massive American flag, but it was tattered. And I was like, what's the story on that flag? I don't play poker. But it was cool. It was like Lou Diamond Phillips was there. All these different people who had been working on 24. And I said, what's the deal with the flag? And somebody was like, it's the flag. That was on one of the towers. It's like 2004 or 5. It's like, that was on one of the towers, man. It's like, no way. I don't know if I believe that or not.
Hey, you never know.
But it was like, I was behind his desk in a frame, tattered flag that was on one of the towers. Like, how that's the most American thing. I was like, dude, this guy, pro-American right there. The night, like with that choice you made, I
decided to step away to go to college.
That's not a bad choice.
It wasn't a bad choice, but it was a bad choice for my career in the business.
Rivers of Como did that, and then we got Pinkerton out of it.
I understand.
We got it in Pinkerton first.
It's a lot harder to get the door to open back up again. And that's what I ran into. I decided to go to college because I was going to USC drama school.
You're here. You can still keep it going.
Their policy was freshmen are not allowed to audition. So if you were accepted into the drama school, you had to accept that you could not audition for an entire year.
For outside stuff?
Yes.
I'm okay not doing like USC theater and all that stuff.
No,
but like
they wanted you 100% focused. You had to agree to no auditions for a year.
I'll tell you what, I got into USC for grad school. I did not go because that whole thing of them owning your film and how they make money off of like THX 1138. Like they're still making money off of like George Lucas and all these people's movies. I stayed at Columbia because first off, USC waitlisted me for 6 months for like first semester. So first semester, I only got it. But like, I was like, let me stay in New York for these 6 months or for this first semester. And then if I don't dig it, because I've already been in Philly for 4 years of undergrad, let me just move to USC and I'll do that. But at that point, those first couple months, Peter Farrelly came, like all these amazing directors started coming because Jonathan Houseman was producing like Scorsese movies. We had Gangs of New York come. P.T. Anderson came and brought Sandler and showed Punch Drunk Love, and like Michael Moore came. Like all these people started coming. I was like, dude, let me just chill in New York for a bit. But I didn't even notify USC I wasn't coming. But you waitlisted me, USC. So
see what
you waitlisted me.
But so yeah, I chose to do that, and because I took a year off, by the time I came back, those doors had closed.
1 year? No, 1 year?
Yeah, people
1 year.
People had kind of moved on.
19 years old, 1 year.
I'm not saying I couldn't get auditions, but again, the door was just not open like it was. At the time, people would have, when I stopped doing Growing Pains, I was being brought in directly to directors, directly to the producers. I was being offered roles directly. When I came back, it was, oh, well, come in for a first audition. If I could get that, the door was closed. It's people had moved on even in a year. So it was just a lot harder to get the ball rolling again. And again, my life has been in the industry has been a series of near misses. I've had another dozen projects over the last 20 years that have been this close to me and they've all gone on to be major motion pictures, major TV shows. And I just barely missed out.
Name a couple.
I can't get into
Name a couple.
I can't on that.
Is it true you almost played Iron Man, sir? Is it true that you almost?
I was too buff.
The crazy thing about Robert Downey Jr. is I was dating my ex-wife, like we were just dating at the time, and she lived across from the Marvel office when it was above that Mercedes dealership over on Little Santa Monica, at like Maple in Beverly. And there's that 76 station right there where Little Santa Monica turns into whatever it turns into in Beverly Hills. And that 76 station, I'd walk over there for a soda. Robert Downey Jr. would just be playing his guitar outside of it. Like he had nothing going on. This is before the Shane Black movie. This is before, what was that? The Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This is before anything like this. He was in recovery and all that stuff. And he was just chilling, just playing his guitar, hanging out at that 76 station. And I'm like, that's Robert Downey Jr., Oscar nominated for, at that time it was like Chaplin. It was like his big, it was crazy. I did not ask him to sign my back to school DVD, but I should have. Let's talk your recovery, like, because the whole time we are talking about USC, we're talking about the college thing like that. There's that demon that is part of this parallel journey. Like that's paralleling this journey the whole time, though, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
So we can say like USC this and that, but like you have this like thing on your shoulders, this evil illness thing on your shoulders that is making all of those things even worse.
Well, at the time, not as much.
Okay.
At that time.
I don't understand it.
I had an affinity for drinking at a young age.
How young?
Well, the story goes, if you believe my grandmother, that I would run around her and my grandfather's parties at 4.5 years old after their parties and finish off all the, beers.
What?
The last sip of beer in the can. So, most kids who do that, it tastes, oh, ick. No, I kept going. I would run around and finish them all off.
At 4.5 years old.
Well, that's grandma says. Mom says it was 6, but either way,
don't make it
still
much better.
Pretty damn bad. My first real drunk was at about 11 years old, maybe 12.
Well, how do you define that? Because
I went
were you intentionally there to get drunk?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
One of our producers' nephews owned a volleyball wear company, and at the time, beach volleyball was booming.
Was it Body Glove?
No, actually,
remember those?
yes,
like Body Glove?
Of course, I do.
Remember the Nintendo game TNC Surf Design?
Yeah, of course. TNC Surf and Skate.
Yeah, it's this shit.
Played that all the time.
Yeah, you could play as a gorilla.
All the time.
Or that. Whatever.
What was the other one? The cat?
He was a cat.
Yeah.
This for the skateboard level.
So, where were we?
Sorry. The volleyball.
We're at the volleyball thing.
Yes, probably Huntington Beach or somewhere.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
the big Huntington. It was the Hermosa Beach Open, the Manhattan Beach one. And I don't know how it is now, but back then it was basically a 3-day block party. All the people on the beach just like left their houses open, put something on the stove, made sure there was plenty of beer in the fridge. And then they went like 4 houses down to their friends and partied, and other people partied in their house. It was just a huge party for the whole weekend. So come Saturday morning, we get out there to the beach to watch the games, and someone busted out a 30-pack of Corona. And I just, at 10 a.m., started drinking.
How old were you at that time?
Like 11 or 12.
Oof.
And nobody stopped me. Nobody said anything. And I drank all day long. I have no idea how many beers I had over the course of the day.
Just blackout.
but I just kept drinking, and we went to a party after when night came, volleyball was done, and we went to a local party, and I kept drinking there, and it got to the point where I got really sick. I knew I was going to vomit. So I go running to the bathroom, and of course there's a line 10 people deep for the bathroom. I'm not going to make it. So I go run into, I don't even know whose house I'm in. I go running into the kitchen. I throw up in this poor guy's sink. Now, what would most people on their first drinking experience do?
You're sick.
Now you're done. Right?
You're done.
I walked right to the cooler and got another beer and kept going. So something different about me when it comes to alcohol, even at a young age.
Okay. Yeah. How much did that affect growing pains?
Almost none, because the opportunities to get a hold of the alcohol were very limited.
Okay.
I was drunk for one episode.
What?
There was one episode in the later years where I found a bottle of scotch in one of our prop guys' rooms.
Yeah.
Because, that was very normal to have that on the set.
I don't let it on my set.
Back then.
Like, even like music videos where the band's like, we want to party. Like, I've had I remember in Ben, my old friend Ben from Yellow Card, he was the first bassist for Yellow Card. I was shooting a music video for a group called Rage in the Full Effect, and he showed up. We'd just become friends, and he showed up and was like, yeah, I brought all this to party. And I was like, back in your car, put it in the trunk. That doesn't come on set, because because you can't get shots up, it slows your whole production down.
Back in the day, it was very normal to have that bottle in the cabinet or
ready for after. Yeah.
When filming was done.
Do that crap off.
No, it was never, especially with our crew in old school, you never drank on set while working. It just didn't happen. But oftentimes the prop guys, the camera guys, whoever afterwards, when everything was done, would sit down, pour each other a couple drinks, and sit and chit chat. I found that bottle, and it was a tape day.
And you're a thief.
Oh,
you're also a thief.
So I poured a red Solo cup, 3/4 full, with 12-year-old scotch.
And you're 12 years old. You're what?
Closer
15?
to 15.
15.
And probably 14, I think.
Okay.
Second to last year. And I downed that whole Solo cup.
My man.
And we had a live taping that night, and I taped the entire show intoxicated.
But that's the show and it's live. It aired. Have you gone back to watch that show?
I can't really remember exactly which episode it was. If I went through all the later episodes, I could pinpoint it.
Second last season.
It was either second to last season or last season. But plenty of people on the set recognized there was something off.
Yeah.
But no one knew I was drunk. And we shot the entire show and our pickups after the audience taping with me pretty well intoxicated. In fact, by the time we got to my last pickup, I was leaning in the Seaver's front door, and I could barely keep myself up for the shot. I was having to use the door frame to hold myself up. Not proud of that, but there was one time. Otherwise,
did you hear about that ever? Did anybody come up to you and be like, dude, what was like,
nope,
we're worried about you?
Nobody had a clue. And like I said, the opportunities to drink just weren't there. So there weren't a lot of problems until later on when I got old enough and I kind of discovered the social lubricant aspect of alcohol, and having social anxiety disorder and having a very severe anxiety disorder. I found alcohol soothed a lot of that.
Yeah.
So around college age is when I found.
I think a lot of kids do that.
That's around when I started carrying a flask.
Oh my God. A lot of kids don't do that. Like the binge drinking in college. I just remember freshman year, kids weren't ready for that stuff. And just how many people went and got their stomach pumped. Like freshman year, I was like, whoa.
I was well prepped by that time.
Yeah. But by that time, like our older brother Daniel had just been killed by a drunk driver the year before. So I got to college pretty ready to be like, all right, you're in support mode, dude. Because I read too many comic books and I'm in Superman mode. I'm like, if somebody's drunk, you're gonna help them out. Like I was the designated, I was the support dude, I was the, drink water. Your friend Callista Rice.
My niece, that is my niece.
Hey Callista.
Callie girl, I love you so much. Your Aunt Joni loves you too. So good to see you, honey.
And so we are like, so in college, I was very like, like vigilant about like helping people out, but I saw all of it. I saw all these kids getting sick at the parties. They weren't ready for that stuff.
Mhm.
And you had a freaking flask. Tell me later how you got out of it, because that was a lot of not trial and error. There's no
Well,
error there, but you had to overcome so many false starts. Is
Yes.
a good way to say
Oh,
it
yeah,
about
no.
the recovery.
I made a lot of attempts. I tried every modality there is. I mean, I went inpatient rehab, outpatient rehab, hydrotherapy, hypnotherapy, 12-step. You know, I mean, I pretty much ran the gamut. I was very desperate to quit, and I just couldn't make them work. The closest I ever got was my first attempt at doing 12-step in AA. And I think I made it about 6 weeks. That was the longest I had not drank in almost 15 years at that point.
But you got this horror story you told me.
Well, yeah, it was a nightmare.
That just makes my blood boil about your sponsor.
So
one of the
my very first sponsor in that program sold me out to the National Enquirer. I ended up finding out about it because they called my house and then showed up on my front door to get quotes about my alcoholism from me and my family.
How old are you in there?
This would be just before, or right when I just met Joni, so I'm 27 or 28
That's
at this point.
How do you even go back to a recovery program? How do you trust another human being again? Because of all the people you're supposed to trust, your AA sponsor was supposed to be the rock.
It took a long time for me to
how do you forgive
not
that?
Blame the program and realize it was just the human being, you know, being flawed.
And they paid him for that crap, probably.
He made so I found out how much he made. That's actually what really pissed me off. Was
how much did he sell you out for?
Like $5,000.
$5,000?
Like, dude, seriously, you almost killed me for $5,000. I mean, 50. I just said, hey, split it with me. We'll be fine. But sold me out for $5,000. Really, almost killed me.
And this is someone who's helped. You would have given him $5,000.
Yeah.
To help you on that road, to help you.
Yeah.
Like heal, you would have given him. If he would have come to you and been like, "Hey, can I borrow $5,000?
Yeah,
I need the,
absolutely."
You would have given it to him because he's helping you.
It set me back years.
And you could have played Tony Stark.
I didn't make another attempt after that for a few years, till things started to get bad.
30s at that point.
Yep, I was probably 33 or 34 at that point.
Tell me when you don't want to talk about this stuff.
No, I'm all good with it.
But Jeremy, when you say when things started to get bad,
I was becoming I was just an unpleasant person to be around. I was very angry all the time.
I'm happy with you, my man. I love you.
But I was a rageaholic. It took nothing to set me off.
No fuse.
I was never violent with my kids, but they were afraid of me for losing my temper.
That's horrible.
You know, my boys did not want to be around me. Joni at that point would pick them up from school most days and just run errands all day long. Not yet. I mean, there'd been some, you need to do something and all of that, but it hadn't come to the get out point yet. But she would intentionally keep the children out of the house all day until nighttime so they wouldn't have to deal with me.
You're unpredictable.
And it was not good. So when things got real bad with all of that, that's when I started searching for even more.
And more what? In the bad direction?
No, searching for more recovery, more help.
You're falling down a hole and you're grabbing on and your fingernails are going.
I was just grabbing onto anything at this point. And I still couldn't find anything. Nothing was working. And we went to Texas.
Okay.
Joni's brother was getting married.
Okay.
We went about 2 weeks early to help them, set up and just do stuff. It was a very stressful 2 weeks, and I fell off the wagon again. And Joni and I got into a very big argument, not fight, but very big argument. And I've always been very self-aware. Even when I'm drinking, I know what I'm doing, and I know it's causing other people problems. So I didn't want to ruin the wedding. That was my only concern. I was like, I'm going to ruin the wedding. I'm going home. Okay. I said, you stay, help your brother.
You couldn't control it.
I know I can't control myself. I'm going to keep drinking. I'm going to change my flight, and I'm going to go home. Well, all Joni heard was, he's going to fly home and bury himself in a bottle.
You can kill yourself. Like,
So
no, like,
she freaked
am I
out.
being
No, you're
over?
you're not overstating it at all. So as I'm trying to walk out the door, she physically jumped on my back to restrain me from leaving.
Oh my God, I love that woman.
And I threw her off of me.
No, you villain.
She hurt her wrist pretty good. It's the only time I've ever physically done anything to her or my family.
You're out of control, Jeremy.
But
as your friend Jonathan tells, I'm telling you, bro.
You were so I wasn't attempting to hurt her, but
No.
It doesn't make it any better.
No, but you weren't in control of your actions.
Her. No, unfortunately, I was.
But you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like there's.
I was just trying to get her off.
Yeah, but Banner's not in control of the Hulk anymore. You know what I mean?
So I threw her kind of halfway across the room, you know, and she hit the floor and hurt her wrist pretty good. And
that'll sober you up right there.
Well, again, I was sober.
I know, but what I mean
was
like,
that crystallizing moment of just pure desperation was that I had hurt the person I love the most. And that was something I always swore I would never do.
That's what I mean. Like that's sober. Like I went
in my room and I called my mom and I said, find me anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. And I'm telling you right now, had she found something that said, we're going to amputate your right arm, but that's going to solve it, I would have done it the next day. I was that desperate.
I mean, if you're going to lose your wife, then that is your right arm. You know what I mean? Like,
so it was desperate. And lucky for me, I mean, just sheer blessing. My mom came across a video on YouTube about this program they were running in Australia that was using a medicine to combat alcoholism and opiate addiction. So she learned more about it, and then she sends me this thing that just says, I think we found what we've been looking for. So I read about it. I'm like, this is bullshit. I mean, there's no way there's some little pill that's gonna. And then I called them. She said, you know, because I told her what I said, and she said, just call them, just at least find out about it. And I found out that, because for me, it wasn't just that I don't think this is going to work. It was the drinking's only part of the problem. So even if the medicine made me stop drinking, all the reasons I drink and all the problems are still there. So it's not going to solve it.
What do you think those were?
Oh, it's a lot of stuff.
It was the
career, the sexual abuse by my stepfather,
I'm sorry, man.
The trauma from that, trying to run from that for years. You know, most addiction stems from trauma. 99% of it stems from trauma. And I had no tools to be able to deal with that trauma except to run from it with a bottle. It's really that simple.
How did you even face that stuff, dude?
Well, I didn't for many years.
No, I know, but now
once I got sober, you had to learn to accept, learn to forgive yourself.
You got the pill first. Chemically.
Here's the thing. The pill helps to just block the craving. And what I did, it's not a pill you take. The medicine is available in oral form, but I knew I'd never take it. Most alcoholics won't. When you want to drink, you just don't take it. This was an actual implant. I had a surgery and they put a pellet that is just a compounded form of that medicine, concentrated, in the pellet, and it dissolves in your body over about 6 months. So they made a small incision in my abdomen. They inserted it into the fatty tissue, and it just dissolves over 6 months. So you don't have to worry about taking it. You don't have to worry about it's just there with you.
However it works, you know. And
for me, it blocked my cravings.
And then you could work on the other stuff.
Exactly.
Which is
it allowed me to finally hear the other stuff in recovery, rather than my brain being bombarded with this, I need a drink, I need a drink, I need a drink, I need a drink. Finally, that was quieted, and I could actually get down to doing the real work of recovery. So for me, it ended up being an absolute godsend.
We got Mike Flaherty watching on Facebook, and he says, Jeremy, I met you when you were 11, and you seemed like a normal kid. Despite your young alcohol addiction and Hollywood upbringing, you seem to be a very normal person again. This dude is such a real one.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, man.
And you are. Like, you're a real one. You're a good dude. We have you over here for dinner. We hang out. And I'm amazed because you brought up the sexual abuse and the exploitation of the kids that you were peers with and yourself and that stuff. And like, some of these kids took their lives, and like some of these people couldn't face adulthood.
I can't speak to exactly what was going on with him, even though Jonathan Brandis and I were very good friends. He never reached out to me for help when he was struggling, and I never knew what he was dealing with at that time. I had seen him maybe 2 weeks before he hung himself.
Oh my God.
But he never talked to me about it. I never knew he was struggling. I don't know if he suffered abuse or if it was just the struggle of trying to survive as an adult after being, child actors are not provided with any survival skills.
Right.
We don't learn the normal interactions and the normal survival strategies that most people learn to get through life. We have very few tools in our tool bag when we get released on the world. Losing Jonathan was hard. I mean, I've lost a lot of friends, suicide, drugs, and alcohol, all of them child actors. Jonathan was one of the hardest because we were the same age, because we auditioned for everything together, because we were friends. There's a lot of stuff kid actors deal with. I mean, I personally, unless it was absolutely the one thing that one of my kids, it was their passion. They had set their mind on it. It was the only thing that was going to make them happy. That's the only way I would have supported my kids getting into the business. I would never have encouraged them to do it. I've always said that my experience was probably about as good as it gets. And if my experience is as good as it gets, it's only downhill from there.
Damn.
So I don't think most kids should be involved in the business. It's a very hard business to grow up in. There are a lot of benefits. And truthfully, I've always said given all the negatives, I would never trade it. The positives, the opportunities I had, the things I got to experience, the people's lives I got to touch and help change, I wouldn't change a thing. I would never trade it. But would I have encouraged my own kids or other kids to get into this business? No.
So, like, what do we do now? Where are we at now, right? Like, you've dealt with a lot of this stuff. You put it like where the Jeremy Miller in the 2025 that you can see. You're going to plug your appearance in Lompoc this weekend. And then, of course,
they're going to get mad at you.
I don't care.
It's Lompoc.
Lompoc, is it? Okay. Sorry, Lompoc.
The people from there get really pissy.
The only time I've been up to Lompoc was it's near Solvang. It's close to Solvang's on the air, like east of it. So that's the only time I've gone up there. But also, you're going to be at Pasadena Comic Con May 24th.
Yes.
And you're also going to be at San Diego Comic Con at the Geekscape booth because I'm going to make you come. Because come to the Geekscape booth.
I just get to hang out with you guys.
You're going to be there. I want you to come and do the Geekscape booth every day.
I will definitely come.
This guy.
We're going to do it.
As right here on the show is an exclusive. Come to the Geekscape booth. Do an hour a day. Make your money.
Heck yeah.
Sell your stuff.
Come on down. Come down and see us.
Your
come
wares
see the Geek
going.
Squad and we'll have some fun.
Yes. Come talk to the nerds. And we're going to be there in San Diego all 5 days
Nerds
at San
rock.
Diego. Yeah. I mean, we do all right here at the Geeks. So like 2025 Jeremy that you're going to see in Lompoc and that you're going to see at San Diego, that you're going to see, in Pasadena, like, what are you working on? Like, what's your goals? Like, what is your deal? You're a chef, man.
Yes,
you came
I
over
am.
and you cooked for us. I was like,
I love cooking for people.
what kind of weird world is this that Ben Seaver is going to come over my house and cook for me?
No, I'm still a chef, and I don't do my own catering anymore. I did have a catering company for a while. Now I teach private cooking lessons as well as private cooking, these party classes that we do. They're a lot of fun. We do them for between 6 and 12 people. We come to your house, or I have some kitchens that I can rent to do it.
Do you have that stuff on your website?
Yeah, it's all on my website.
This is JeremyJamesMiller.com for your con schedule, but I should have said for like the Shea Miller
just to let you guys know as well,
cooking school.
It's very difficult to do out of state. Predominantly these classes I do in Southern California just because it's cost prohibitive to do it outside of the state.
Sure.
If someone wanted to bring me out of state to teach one of these classes, they'd have to put me up in a hotel. They'd have to pay for airfare. It just gets ridiculous. So it's mainly for people in the Southern California area.
You'll come and teach them how to cook.
Basically, they get to pick a theme.
Okay.
It can be an ethnic cuisine. It can be, I've done 30-minute meals for, busy moms.
Sure.
We've done a couple for kids' birthday parties. So easy meals, kids can cook themselves. Any theme you want to learn. If you want to learn Italian, Indian food, Thai,
When did you get into this though?
I've been doing it forever. My grandmother was a chef. She had a restaurant, and I've always had a passion for cooking. I went to culinary school at Cordon Bleu in Pasadena.
And know that those was shave. I just thought you were going to come over. You made dinner, and the dinner was good. Geekscape was like, the dinner was good. You came over, the food was so good. I ate it for the rest of the week, but I didn't know that Shay Miller was going to be the guy who did this.
Yep, absolutely. And they, it's like about a 4-hour class. I teach you 4 to 5 different dishes in whatever style or theme you want. I make up tasting portions for the whole group. So
you're better than one of those subscription boxes.
It's awesome.
You're better than one of those
fun
subscription boxes that comes with the menu or like the instructions. You know those things where they come with all the different ingredients.
I've seen those.
You're better than that.
Thank you, my friend.
You come to the house and you teach. You can
and it's a good time. People if you want to be hands-on with it and get up and actually do some stuff, we can do that. Most people just want to kick back. They have a glass of wine or have some, martinis with their friends, and you get to learn some good dishes and try some wonderful food. So that's one of the things I do. Still acting. Just finished the 2nd season of a new show that'll be premiering in a month or 2 on BET streaming, BET Plus. It's called Angel. It's a cop drama, street drama. I play the lead detective. I played the lead detective's partner. Our lead detective is the legendary MC Light. So that's my co-star. Wonderful cast and great crew. But the 2nd season's phenomenal. I am so proud of it. You guys are really going to love it. So when it drops, Angel on BET Plus, it is going to be a great season.
Okay, we got to find other stuff to do as well. Like we gotta make something up. We got to create something. All right, we got to think of something.
Let's do it.
You're the chef, man. You're the guy who just like makes stuff. We got to think of something. You'll see. Okay, comments real quick. Deborah Davis, you should do a reality cooking show. Not a bad idea, Deb. You can call it. No. Listen to this. You're ready for this? You can call it Cooking Pans. LMAO. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You and Joni are amazing people. I agree very much. But we should figure something out. Would you do a reality show, cooking show?
I have been in discussions with producers from the Food Network off and on over the years about possibly doing a cooking show. It's never come to fruition, although we've gotten close a few times on a few ideas. So it is something I'm definitely open to. I think the last time we talked, there was just such an oversaturation of shows at the moment that a lot of people really aren't looking for new cooking shows. I am looking to, there's some things for my website and also YouTube that I'm looking at possibly doing subscription instructions or classes or whatever through YouTube or through my website. So those are possibly on the horizon. We got to see how feasible it is for me to do that.
Should have you and Joni just do a home renovation show because there's not enough of those either. Shouldn't have you guys just go?
No, we can't let.
It's an old barn. We're gonna redo it. Yeah. Okay. So Geekscape is this guy right here, Lompoc, this weekend.
Yep. Come up to Lompoc this weekend for the Rocket Town show.
Oh, you guys are gonna walk on that beach together.
We'll probably hit it at some point. And then we have Pasadena coming up on the 24th.
Yeah.
And then we'll be at San Diego Comic-Con with the Geek Squad.
That the Geekscape is no, it's all good. You can call us whatever you want.
Well, no, because Geek Squad is those freaking.
We are not going to fix your computer.
They're not
if you bring your computer to the Geekscape booth in San Diego, we're more liable to break it than fix it.
That works.
Well, the computer won't. But Geekscape is. I want to say I'm also going to be walking around Comic-Con Revolution. My friend Drew Selden, who runs it, is going to be on the show this week. It's actually tomorrow. He was my guest for this week, and then Jeremy was like, "Can I do Monday?" Because he didn't do last week, so we smushed them together. Don't worry about it. Because we're also got a Thunderbolts episode coming up where we talk about Thunderbolts. We just talked about Daredevil, Born Again. My dad was on an episode talking about his new book. Guys, I've been doing Geekscape forever, and I love doing them, and I love talking to people like Jeremy. And so if you guys enjoyed this,
you don't have to lie.
I love talking to you. If you guys enjoy this, if you're listening to this maybe on a podcast or something, share it with your friends. Share this episode with your friends, this conversation. Leave the 5 stars. So people are like, oh, I've heard of Geekscape and all that. Aren't you guys the Geek Squad? No, Jeremy calls us the Geek Squad. We got a few more. It's let's see. Oh, Dave Navarro says, I'm more than happy to write it. Pro bono, of course, probably the new show. I don't know. You know, Dave?
That's my former
Love
podcast
Dave.
partner
Love
and
Dave.
my brother from another mother who I can't stand. Go away, Dave.
I love Dave. If you're, then let me love Dave. Dave, I love you, man. And then let's see. Jody's talking to Calista. You guys are having your own conversation.
Of course they are. It's our little meet.
And then Miss Devotion on YouTube says, thank you for this episode. Of course, I love doing these. And Dave and I are going to do a podcast together now, Mr. Navarro, and you can't get rid of us.
Now I'm stuck with both of you.
Yeah,
now you. I'm trying to get rid of him
brothers.
for years. It just doesn't work.
You're a made man now, Dave. You're part of the Geekscape network now. And of course, thanks for sharing the show. Thanks for sharing. If you guys have this on a podcatcher, it'll be out on, if you're watching this live, it'll be out very soon on Spotify and all that stuff. Share that, subscribe, all that, and you'll get all the con appearances and interviews at cons. And that's what we do here on Geekscape. But this is the unofficial Jonathan London and Jeremy Miller show because we went. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to let you go.
Have a good one, guys.
And don't hate, create is what we say here. If you guys have that, you want to go on, talk some trash on the internet, take that energy and actually make something with it. So don't hate, create, don't waste your time, and put something out in the world, okay? Because it's much harder to do, but it's much more rewarding. All right. And again, as Joni Miller says herself, you can find out all the appearances and all the cooking stuff at jeremyjamesmiller.com. All right.
Thank you for having me on, brother.
I love you, man. I'll talk to you later.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, guys.